Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to see something interesting and it's brand new. It's just in the public preview. That is how we will enrich the token with the claims from the external source using the API connectors. So this is in public preview from Microsoft Azure, and this is one of the superb feature that I really like it. And we're going to see how it works and why we need this. Come, let's get started. So here is the application that you already know, and there is a login here, and here we have used Azure AD B2C. Azure AD B2C doesn't work with role-based authorization. It all works with the claim-based authorization. So claims, if you have already seen my previous video how we set up the Azure AD B2C, so we have set up the attributes like the inbuilt attributes and the custom attributes. So custom attributes, if you remember, we already have something called the employee name, employee role, and if you have already seen this video, if you remember, if you go to this Azure AD B2C user flow, there's two things, right? The user attributes that are inbuilt and then application claims. User attributes are nothing but something that you get details from the users. Application claims are something that you include that details when the token has been requested. So if you go to application claims, I have currently employee ID, employee name, employee role that is coming from the application claim, and all of these three may or may not be required in the user attribute. So if I go to user attributes, I don't need to collect all these things. So let's go to same user flow, go here and then go to user attribute. Under user attributes, I don't need to collect employee name or employee role because that is something that has been given from the backend. We don't collect these things in the upfront, so we don't need to do that. So I'm going to save it. It has to be on the application claim. So that's the rule number one. You should remember this. Anything that you wanted to change, such kind of custom claim, okay, you need to have that in the application claims. So this is the idea. Basically, when a user logs in, okay, I have set up in such a way that if I log in with the learnsmartcoding@gmail.com's login, okay, it will return a claim that will have the user role as admin. Because I do have that claim, I'm able to go to this page, and you can come here and see my custom attribute now has a value called admin and then employee name also something, my name. So basically this is injected from the Azure function. So I will tell you how it works, but let me tell you what is the purpose first. So if I log out and do a login with a different user, okay, now what will happen is for this user I do not have admin access. So if I don't have admin access, I have set up an auth guard which they cannot go here. So how do I know what is that, right? So let me refresh this and get to this token, and then we'll show you how it looks. So I come here all the way through, where is the token? All right, so if you click on this token and go and get this ID token, copy this, go to this one. We're going to copy paste this ID token here, and you can see to the right side it's decoded. And here's the thing, all these things that you see, right, anything without a name called extension underscore, everything without extension underscore, like for example name, given name, they're all inbuilt user attributes. They are collected from the users and returned in the application claim. These things, whichever starts with extension underscore followed by a name, they are all called the custom attributes included in the claims, may or may not be included in the user attributes. The moment you include in the user attributes, it means you're collecting information from the user. But our goal here is to have this name and role and anything else that you wanted to set behind the scene, right? They are going to be populated through the Azure function, and that's using the API connectors. That is our goal. So why are we seeing this? For this email ID, I have set up in such a way that it should return a role called employee. But for the other one, I have set up in such a way that it will return a role called admin. Now, when we take a look at the function, I'll explain you what you need to do to change this logic according to your need, but that's the goal. So based on who logs in, the client itself has a value which can determine us what to give access, what not to give access. So that's the whole idea of this. So basically we're talking about how we can enrich the token with the claims, and the claims value can be either populated using an external source like a database or a custom logic that is written somewhere. Okay, and then we do all these things using the API connectors. Okay, so now it's time for setting up all these things and see how it works. And come, let's dive into the AD B2C. Alright, before we dive in and put our hands on the deck, what you need to know or what is the basic prerequisites for this setting up is, first of all, you should have the Azure AD B2C setup done. If you have not done, watch my video how to set up the Azure AD B2C, like how we can register the apps and the user flows. Okay, let's assume that you have done all these things. Now you go to this user flow, and then this is the sign up sign in. So this API connector have to be linked with any one of the user flow, either the custom user flow, which is the policy based, or the the sign up sign in user flow. Okay, that's the only place you can do it. Now here, if you look at this, okay, now if you go to this Azure AD B2C, here to the left side there's something called API connectors. So if you click on API connectors, I have something set up here. Basically for you, if you're doing it from first, you will not have anything here. You click on this new API connector. Let's explore what you want. You need to have a display name, that's for your understanding purpose, and you need to have an endpoint URL. So basically, this is how it works. So when you request for a token, when you log in and request for a token, the call goes to Azure AD B2C. Now, because this API connector has been set up, what this will do is it will go and send the existing claims that you have enabled in the application claims. I'll repeat one more time. Whatever you have enabled in application claims for the sign up sign in, all right, those information will be sent to this endpoint. So this endpoint, we will talk what is this. So there's an endpoint, okay, which accepts a request and process it and send it back. That's it. That's a HTTP post request. Okay, so now that has been protected based on either the certificate or a basic authentication. What is basic authentication? It's basically a authorization header with a basic username and password. Username password will be combined and encoded into base64 and then appended with basic space. That is what will be sent to this endpoint. Now this endpoint will receive this request and then it does some processing and send it back a response. In that response, you will be able to fulfill the custom attribute that you set up, which we are going to see. So now what Microsoft is recommending us, this endpoint could be your own web API endpoint or a Azure Function serverless function endpoint. Because this is all happening through the login process, okay, the API that you provide here, careful, the API that you provide here has to be awake always. It has to be ready to serve the request. For example, if you provide your endpoint, which is your web application endpoint, sometimes if the endpoints are not used, your application goes to sleep after 20 minutes of time. That's the ideal time in IIS. Your application will go to sleep automatically. If that happens, the moment you raise a request, it takes a few seconds for your application to come up. By the time, this should not time out. That's the concept. So if you put the premium serverless function, Azure will take care of it to be awake always, up and running. So what will happen is you request an endpoint. Before the token has been issued, it will forward the request to this endpoint. Endpoint will then process and get back the result. That result will have the client value that you sent it. That claims will be included automatically in your token response. The main catch here is the application claim, for example, employee role or name, it has to be checked in your application claim. If you don't check that, if you try to send it back, it won't be sent it in your token. That's the important thing that you should know. Now, how do I set up this? I need something for the endpoint, right? then only I can set up this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Azure function that I created. Okay, so this function, if you look at this is an HTTP trigger function. It has to be HTTP trigger because this function has been triggered through the HTTP protocol. So we have something called sign up validation function. What this function does is it's a function level protection. It's a post, like I said, HTTP post. Okay, here I'm saying somebody is trying to log in or sign up. It has to be either a Gmail domain or a Facebook domain. See, all this logic you can customize, but let's understand what we're trying to do. So now it goes and checks the authorization. If the authorization, so if you go inside this method, it actually checks the username password that you sent and been recorded in the function. It checks both. If that matches, you're authenticated. That's the idea. So once you're authenticated user, okay, we deserialize the incoming body, which is a dynamic type, because anything can be sent. You cannot predefine by yourself. Okay, so once you do that, we read the email, and then what we do is we do a set of check. Okay, here probably we have a check called the display name character should be a minimum of 4 characters and so on. So what I have checked is the email. If the email is this, send the role as admin. So first let's assign a role called admin or employee. Here's the important thing. Okay, this is the response type. The response type is predefined. It has to be so and so. For example, it has to have a version, action, user message, statics. All these things should be there. The extra thing that we have enabled is like this: extension underscore employee name, extension underscore employee role. So these two are the claims that we saw in the user flow. If you remember, if you go here under the application claims, we have employee name, employee role. Okay, that is what we are looking at here. So these two I have defined it. So basically when you return, what I'm doing is, hey, okay, once I determine the role, assign this role a name here and send it back along with the other request, the other parameters. So if you ignore, let's say 10 claims are coming in, okay, you don't care about 8 claims. You're only caring about the claims that you wanted to be changed. So that claims you modify here and send it back. Anything that you modify here will be overwritten during the claim token issuer. For example, if the job title is, let's say, software engineer, that has been given by the user, but programmatically now you're intercepting and changing the job title from software engineer to full stack software engineer. Okay, that is the value being sent back though user gave software engineer, and that has been recorded in the Azure AD B2C. Okay, so once we send this, that's it. We will be able to get this that you saw in the claims, like when we decoded, and that's it. So now when I say we can do this claim change stuff using the external source, this is what I mean. Instead of me hard coding this value here, actually you can talk to your database. Let's say your database has a relationship of users and the role. Based on the incoming email ID, you can match up with your database table and figure out what role you have been assigned in the database, and you can send it back. I'm not complicating it by connecting to the database, so I'm just putting the simple check here and returning this. But ideal case, here is the logic that you change according to what you want. It's not just for role, it could be any other claim. Based on any claim value that you wanted to change and intercept and add it to the extra token, right? So if you want to add all these extra things to your token, this is where the place you do. So this function is being written, it has been done. I have just deployed this function. I'm going to show you that function. So let's go to this function, and if you've seen this table booking app is the function that we already have. This is the new function that I created yesterday, and this function is a HTTP trigger function. If anyone calls this with the proper request, and it will send us the response. Okay, now what you need to do is, once this has been set up, now you come here all the way to the API connector. Okay, click on API connector. Here you need to provide the URL of the function. So here, if you go to function, get function, copy this, paste it here, sign up validation new, something like that, like anything that you can understand, and then provide a name. For example, I'm going to provide admin, and then let's say Karthik. Okay, of course this is not going to be the real username password, but just for your understanding. So once you do this and save, you will have this being saved here. Now this API connector has been added here. Now all what you have to do is you need to integrate this. Go to user flows, click on sign up, sign in, and then here there's something called API connector. Now the third one is the one that we are referring to. We're not talking about the federating with the identity provider sign up or before creating even the user. You can actually have your own custom function that you needed to intercept when the user is even before created. For example, like I said, if the incoming user belongs to only a particular domain, then you put this here so that no one else can register. Okay, something like that. But we are talking about enriching the claims. So here is the thing: before including applications, claims, and tokens, see, it says public preview. It's a new feature. It's really working super. So you come here and choose whatever you wanted to choose. Now let's say I choose this, right, or choose this, whatever. Both are same, in fact. So I choose this and then do a save, and that's it. Now what you need to remember is when you deploy this function, this is something that you should remember. When you deploy this function, okay, and let's go to the function, go to this local.setting.json. This is the place you will have something called basic_auth username, basic auth password. These two are the details being checked in this one. You see this? Now when you deploy the function, by default, as per the rule, this is not deployed to the function app. You need to make sure you have these variables and values placed in the function app. So how do we do that? Go to the function and come all the way through the configuration. Okay, make sure you assign that variables here. How did I assign? I have assigned something called basic auth password, basic auth username. Now let's reveal these. See, these two details is read in the application that you deployed here. And remember, when the API connector is injecting a request, if you remember when you did this, right, you gave a username password. So Microsoft Azure is going to call this endpoint with this in the header. If this value doesn't match with the value that you have it here, what will happen? The authorization will fail and it will not return your claims. If it doesn't return your claims, A2B will not stop. It will just ignore and proceed to the next step. That's called continuous response. Okay. Now, what if by mistake or for some reason your endpoint that you gave here is taking more than 20 seconds? It'll wait for first 20 seconds, and the moment it doesn't receive within 20 seconds, it's going to retry one more time. But think of this: for a good user experience, when they log in, they will expect to come back to the application immediately. So you should make sure you have an up and running performance oriented function or a web API here. Okay, that's a webhook that you have to make sure that is really fast and awake all the time. All right, so that's it. So you know how to do this enrichment of tokens, and we already saw the demo. Who will gain access, who will not gain access. You can see this actually if you log into what I have given. So if I come here, I am having an admin role, so I'm going to go to this claims page, but the other users will not. Now this role is what I'm going to use for the authorization purpose on our restaurant table booking app video series. Don't forget to continue watching the series, because so this logic will be applied to see who can check in the process, who cannot check in, and you will see a user experience difference and then an admin page. Okay, so we're going to cover all these things, and I hope you enjoyed this video. A good thanks to one of the subscribers who triggered this kind of ask, and this was a public preview and I was able to finish this. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech tutorials. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Happy coding!